Hello, my name is Lianna Kiff. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to integrate with Excel data with Tom Sawyer Perspectives. New users or evaluators will benefit from seeing how easy it is to connect to an Excel data source and how we can see first results very quickly and with no need to code in Java. First, we're going to begin with an empty project. We right-click on Modules to add a new module to the project and accept the default name. We'll take a brief look at the schema. We see that it's empty. And next we're going to add an integrator. We right-click on Add Integrator and select Excel from the list and click OK. Now we're going to choose our Excel data source. I have a file handy in my project. And we're going to test our data connection, and you can see that works successfully. And then we're going to extract the schema. We're extracting only the objects we really want. And now we'll see what data will be imported into our schema. And now we see that it added the 3 objects to our schema. We'll briefly check the bindings to see how the data is connected to the schema. And here you can see the persons table and the data connections, and here's the relationships table and the connections. Going back to the schema view, we see that we now have information in our schema. You see the 3 objects that we imported, and we can see those in a drawing as well. Because Microsoft Excel isn't a relational database, we have to tell it where the relationships are. So we're going to edit this object and change it to an edge type instead of a vertex, and set the source to our incidents and the target to the people involved in the incidents, the persons, and select OK. We can see that the new source and target relationships have been added to the model. And now, because the incident ID and the person ID are redundant, we're going to delete those identifiers from our model because we don't need them any longer. Because we've replaced the source and target IDs with those new fields, we need to update our bindings to point the source ID and the target ID to the right columns in our data source. So here we're connecting the source to the incident ID and the target to the person's ID. Now that our schema is in order, we're going to add a view. We right-click on Add View, and we're going to add a drawing. We're accepting the default name. And now we're going to select what data we want to include. So we're going to check all vertices and all edges. That will give us the nodes and edges that we need to display. The vertices are the objects we want to display to our users. So we're going to add a structural element, which is the node, and we're going to accept the defaults that are presented in the dialog. Next, we want our users to see how the objects connect. So we're going to add an edge structural element, and we can accept the defaults here because we've done all the work in the schema. And now we're going to take a look at our preview. Web Preview launches a new window in your local browser and displays the drawing that you've just created. We can see nodes and edges in this view, but we can't tell persons from incidents. So let's do something about that. We need to modify the default node template so that we can tell people from incidents. When we examine the default node template, we see that we have a plain blue box and no label. So first we're going to set a label. I happen to know that the field I want is name, but you could check your schema. And I also want to make sure that name displays well, so we're going to change the setting from no fit to tight fit, and then we get to see the preview of what those nodes will look like. So that's a great default, but now we want to distinguish people from incidents. So we're going to add a node template. We're going to name this new node template persons to match our schema. And we're going to set the parent as the default node template. We can't change it to ellipse here, but let's click OK. And now you can see that our new node template for persons has all the defaults we just set. And now we can change the shape on this template to ellipse. And let's change the background color as well so that it stands out for us in the drawing as a different node type. You can see you can use the color picker to make this easy. We'll click OK. And the last thing we have to do is use that new node template in our drawing. So we're going to go to the definition of our drawing, and we're going to add a domain rule. We're going to select persons because that's the object we want to affect. And now we're going to connect the node template that we just created to the persons object. We can accept the default reference for nodes, and we select the persons template. And now we'll take a look at the preview. Now we can see that our preview is showing two different kinds of objects connected to each other. And we'll zoom in a little bit so we can see what the elements look like. Now they have labels. These are from the name fields in the schema. And we can see that our people stand out as different from incidents. Tom Sawyer Perspectives applications offer several different layouts out of the box. This is bundle layout. The next one is circular layout. We also have hierarchical. Different layouts are useful for different purposes. Orthogonal layout and symmetric layout. So we started with an empty project, and in a few minutes we had a quick initial visualization of data from Excel. Thank you for joining us. Contact Tom Sawyer Software today to start your free trial of Tom Sawyer Perspectives.